Okay, so I want to take it like all the way back because I know from speaking to you that you obviously went to university, and
Yeah.
that whilst at university you got the opportunity to work for Soccer AM.
Yeah.
I wondered if you could kind of give a bit of background about how that happened and what it was like being at university and also having that kind of fame around you.
Yes. So I left college, and I basically just wanted a year from going to college, from leaving college to going to uni. Um, so I applied for work experience at Sky Sports, and I didn't really have a plan. It wasn't like some people take a gap year and they have plans in place. I just wanted to take a year out of education. Always wanted to go to uni, so I started doing work experience. What would I have been, 17 then? In the gap between college and uni, but always had the place at Loughborough Uni lined up. And then when I got the work experience, I did 6 weeks unpaid. I think it was just, making teas and stuff and office running and working on a few shows. But it was very, just very bottom end. But what I will say about that is it was very important as well, because it did teach me a lot of very good skills. Like I met a lot of very, very nice people and important people, and it did keep me very well grounded, actually, that, and the fact that it was, unpaid, and I was going in and everything around that. But then I got offered a job as a runner. Basically, it was 3 days a week, so I think it was Wednesday to Friday. An opportunity came up on Soccer Air, and this was when Tim Lovejoy was doing it with Helen, and Fenners and Neil and all them were working on it. So I got a job as a runner. It was a trial basis for a week, and it was really good, actually, because then it was like sort of looking through showboats, coming up with creative ideas. It was the first time it was like a chance to be creative, logging games, going basic editing stuff, like going into an edit software, doing layoffs and coming up with, helping with feature ideas and costumes and things like that. There was a big comedy element to Soccer M back then as well, an entertainment side of things. So anyway, so I started working on Soccer M. It seemed to go quite well. So I was working part-time on the Soccer AM during my gap year. And then it got to the point where they had one of these fishes in the office. I don't know if you remember these Elvis fishes.
Yeah,
They used to be very
on the
popular.
wooden plank.
Exactly, on a wooden plank, like my grandparents had, and they're very popular with like the sort of older generations. And obviously Elvis is massive, and they used to sing a song, and they randomly had one in an office for a sketch, and they just said, I walked in and Tim went, dance to this. And I was like 17-year-old kid. I was like, pardon? I literally just brought the teas in and then danced. So I was obviously a bit nervous and started dancing to Elvis. And I was a bit flexible. And for some reason, I did the splits in the middle of the Soccer M office because I was really nervous, to be honest with you. And they went, that's quite funny, isn't it? Maybe we should make him do it on the Saturday show. And I went, yeah, thinking nothing of it. Anyway, I came in 2 days later, and there was a box with an Elvis costume that just said Baby Elvis. I went, well, what's this? He went, oh, this is this dance that you're doing live on Soccer AM as a 17-year-old kid on Saturday. I was like, what? So anyway, I started, I think the first one, actually, tell a lie, was actually just I might have just had the Elvis glasses, but just in my normal clothes. Anyway, again, I did these splits, and it was just, I just think people laughed at me more than with me, to be honest. They just thought, who is this idiot with blonde highlights? I looked about 11 as well, mate, so I looked really young for my age. I looked particularly young for my age then. So anyway, next thing I know, that sort of took off. So it was, yeah, I was just, all the people on the screen there weren't sort of actors they got in, as you probably could tell by the acting. They were just crew members like, Tubes, who has gone on to be very successful, and Rocky and myself and other people. Not saying I've gone on to be successful, but it were people that worked on the show. So yeah, it just sort of, it was a weird time really, because then I found myself at 17, I was working on a really cult show. Soccer M is a massive cult show, and back then was before social media, before there was less channels, there wasn't Netflix, so it really was its pinnacle. And yes, it was a weird time. I was at 17 years old, and I was working as a runner, but then I was appearing on screen, and then I got offered the chance to stay on at Sky as a sort of office runner, and I had a sort of difficult decision to make, really. But I had my place at uni, and I deliberated for quite a while, but wanted to go to university because I always wanted to experience that, and I'm glad I did, because it was 3 of the best years of my life going to uni. But what I did was I didn't work at uni. I kept my foot in the door at Sky, and every Christmas, Easter and summer, I'd come back and work as a runner, doing sort of running shifts, studio stuff, coming on a few Soccer M Saturday days to help out. It was a really good time, mate. And it was a year that I look back on very fondly. But yeah, it was interesting being at uni, actually, because a lot of people would watch the show. And it was a very big, Soccer M was very big amongst university students as well. If you look at the age range and the demographic, I think it probably still is now, to be honest, because it was like the cool football show, and it still is, the cool football show that a lot of 18-year-olds watch. And it was, what was interesting actually. And actually, when I went to uni, I think it was an anniversary of Elvis's death, and they were re-releasing, I think he had 17 number ones. They were re-releasing all of his number ones, and this was the year I was at university, had the idea that for the 17 weeks, because a lot of people were talking about Elvis, it was in a lot of papers, it was in, because there was, I think they were re-releasing all his number ones. There was a lot of buzz about Elvis at the time, even though it was after his death, that someone had the idea of me dancing in a different location at uni every single week. So again, that started off like in my bedroom, and then it escalated to in the dining hall. Then it was like a lecture theatre. But the producer that came up said, right, is there a way that I can ask permissions to this, but you don't be involved? Because for the natural reaction, it'd be a lot funnier if students don't know what's coming. So I was like, you are right, but that... Oh. So it wasn't like they'd pick, because I did sports science and business management, they'd pick that lecture that I knew all my mates, and I thought, oh, this would be a laugh. Honestly, mate, I was a fresher, like, again, really young kid, looked about 12 with these stupid blonde highlights. I looked like an idiot back then, I really did. And they'd be like, yeah, there's a third year biology class going on here with 300 people, like really intelligent, much more intelligent than the degree I was getting. Let's have it right. So I've gone in, and honestly, the lecturer, lovely woman, really intelligent people watching 300 biology students who just sat there, and I've bowled in, and I had to put the hi-fi down. It played, I think, Blue Suede Shoes, and I'm just dancing, and I remember vividly, there was just one person that I was just caught my eye, and as I looked up, when it's like most people you expect to go, yeah, I just remember this guy vividly, mate, just looking at me going, what are you doing? Like, you're an idiot. What are you doing? And I remember walking out, and the producer was like, that's brilliant, that's perfect. I was like, was it? And it was, so yeah, we did that. We did one during the nightclub. We did one at the bar. We did one. It was like, it was fun, and it went down quite well. But I was really nervous doing that, because, and also I was such a young member of the crew then as well. I was a work experienced lad who was only 17 and was only working on the show part-time. So obviously it was really important for me to be doing stuff that was right and making it as good as it could be and coming up with ideas. So I was quite nervous about that. And some of the looks I was getting, I mean, don't get me wrong, some of my mates and stuff, when I did it, at football training, my mates, we had a great time. There were some really good moments, but there'd just be times when I'd be at a nightclub at student union, you went, you're that Elvis bloke, and they'd make me dance. And I was quite fortunate that it was before mobile phone. I think they had, you did have mobile phone cameras, but not a lot of people. It wasn't like nowadays where people would be like Snapchatting it and Insta Live in it and stuff, because people would make me sort of dance outside a kebab shop. Do you know what I mean? I remember once
all the time.
Bought my mate a kebab, and it was like, I didn't have enough money for what happened? We wanted to get 2 kebabs and a chips or something. Anyway, I bought my mate a kebab, didn't have enough money for the chips, and the bloke next to me went, I'll buy you some chips, mate, if you dance like Elvis outside. And I was like, I was like just a performing animal. So I was like, I'm really hungry and I'm quite drunk. Will you buy me some chips? He went, you give me 30 seconds as Elvis, I'll buy you some chips. So honestly, mate, I was standing outside doing all of this, doing the splits outside, just for some chips at uni. I mean, that's how pathetic I was.
I suppose it shows how hard-working you are, though. Like, if you were willing to do all this embarrassing stuff to kind of progress your career, that must have ultimately been the reason behind it all, surely.
I mean, I didn't use the word embarrassing. You did.
Well, moving in front of a lecture hall of 300 biology students, that sounds to me embarrassing.
Yeah, it was. I've always been like, attention to detail has always been a big thing for me. Like, I think it did give me very good grounding skills, actually, all of those days and stuff. And I take that on now. I'm always sort of very much attention to detail and put a lot into what I do. And I think those years of, working, for free effectively and making the teas and doing all that, it did keep me grounded, actually. And it's like, I remember my dad, because my parents both worked in the industry, in TV. My mum was a presenter, dad was a producer, and dad worked in the music industry as well. And they both had very successful careers. And I remember the first day that I drove up to Sky, the advice my dad said, he went, you're going to get starstruck. meeting presenters and seeing Jeff Stelling and seeing people, but she goes, make sure you talk to and treat the security guard who lets you in exactly the same as you talk to and treat the presenter. And it's honestly the best bit of advice I've had going into this industry, because there can be a perception that, you know, you have to, especially as a young person, that certain people can be more important than others because of obviously the success they can go on to achieve. But it's like, there's so many talented people, you know, that work at Sky and people like that. And it was so important that everyone is the same and everyone is as important as each other. And I just thought it was really good advice for me. And, you know, I took that on board, and I do think that was very important and something that I would pass down to other people, that, you know, whatever happens or whatever, if you ever have any success, you know, never forget where you come from, try not to change, and always be yourself, really.